Hi everyone and welcome back to Smack My Deck. In this video we are going to do an unboxing of the Datafrog SF2000 and we're going to have a look at every single emulator on here and its performance. So stick around, let's start with the unboxing. Okay guys, so let's do this. As you know, I'm a very big YouTube channel, so it was sent to me. They just put Smack My Deck and YouTube on there and it arrived to my fan mail PO box. So if you ever want to send me anything, just put it in any envelope, whack Smack My Deck on it, and write YouTube on there. Disclaimer, the previous couple of sentences were complete BS. But anyway, this is the Datafrog SF2000. Now, I got this. It was packaged well. As you saw there, it arrived in one piece. I'm just going to kind of go around the box. I don't know how much of good commentary I can go. I guess the main thing is having a look here. This cost me £20 and 15 pence. That was very, very cheap. I wanted to try it out, and then I'm gifting this to my brother after. My brother's not so much into accurate emulation. He likes the SNES a lot, and this was shaped like a SNES controller, so I grabbed it for him. Anyway, look, let's have a look. So you open the box, yeah, nicely kind of packaged in there. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing there. I'm not very used to these unboxing and these things, so I usually screen capture and talk stuff on this channel. So you've got one lead there with like a composite cable, I guess, or yeah, probably not something I'm ever going to use, but a 3.5 looks like some kind of video outlet. Then you've got a USB type C cable, which is always nice. One of the things that made me buy this device was the fact that there was a USB C cable with it, and you get a handheld an operation manual. It's really, there's not much point on there. There's nothing in that manual that you can't figure out just by looking at it. Honestly, this thing just really doesn't have much options. I'm really sorry if I'm not aiming at the camera correctly. Like I said, I'm very kind of new to this, but I wanted to get this out because this is a cheap handheld, and I know a lot of you guys were kind of interested in this. Well, it arrived. It didn't take too long to arrive. Can't remember when I ordered it now, but if you check the date of my previous video, I ordered it straight after that video. Let's have a look at some of the game performances now. Okay, so first thing, let's power it on. I do like the fact that it's just got a power, kind of a physical button there, rather than something that you're pushing down. So that's very, very good. I was very happy with that. Also like the fact that it's got volume rocker. Later on in the video, towards the end of the video, we'll do a 360 view of it and have a look at it all around. But as soon as you start it, it's on arcade. Now the sound, it's loud for what this kind of device is. Surprisingly loud. Not the best of sound quality, but it is loud. So the first game I wanted to try out was Metal Slug. Let's just have a look at the real loading time, and I'll start editing some stuff out of here. As you can see, that's how long it took to begin to load a Neo Geo game. Now, let me know what you think of it. For me, it felt off. Like, I'm used to playing Neo Geo on FPGA devices or on RetroArch on my PC, which is fairly decent spec, at least for running RetroArch with run ahead on. It felt off, the sound felt off, there was latency. Now the D-pad, we'll have a look at some different type of games. We'll have a look at like some fighting games and some games where diagonals are done. Just have a look. Like, I really dislike the D-pad. If you're trying to play something where you're just getting up, down, left, right, you're okay. As soon as diagonals come into it, it is not a great D-pad. And then if you press start and select, it brings you out onto this menu where you can actually save, quit, or load the game as well. But this kind of limits it because I didn't see many customization options. So we start with arcade. The next game that I loaded up was Super Street Fighter 2. Not Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2. And I wanted to try this because, hey, I want to be able to do Hadoukens. I want to see what it's like to jump forward, to block low. Now, one thing I have to say about this, the screen on this thing is the best feature about it. It is fantastic. The D-pad doesn't feel that good. The buttons feel cheap. The shoulder buttons are also fairly crap. Now, it's easier to do fireball motions on the little analog stick that you've got at the bottom, which is a Switch style analog stick. Now, I'm not a fan of playing fighting games on analog sticks. In fact, for me, I don't think an analog stick it's worth having on this device, because the type of games I want to play, I want to play them on D-pad. But as you can see, I'm having so much difficulty kind of getting my moves out. It's just hit and miss. A lot of times where I'm jumping straight up, I'm actually trying to jump diagonally, so I'm trying to jump forward or backwards. I'm having a mission doing the moves. Like, I'm like a kid just mashing the buttons on there. When I'm trying to do the moves normally, it's difficult. And I've been playing Street Fighter for years. I may miss some of my advanced combos, but I don't miss dragon punches, fireballs, hurricane kicks, like the basic stuff. And the next game, well, the final game for the arcade, we'll have a look at another arcade game at the end of the video, but I wanted to try Rage of the Dragons because this was quite a late Neo Geo game from what I remember. Now, it doesn't play too bad. It's not accurate, it's not the best emulation, it's not the best handheld out there. I have to say one thing, latency on this thing, there is latency, but it's not as bad as the latency I have on an Android device. So there's a Android handheld I've got called the AYN, the Iron, I can't even remember now, Iron Odin, that's it, Iron Odin Lite. Now that's powerful and it can actually play a lot of stuff, including PlayStation 2 and GameCube, but it has a lot of latency. This has less latency than that, but there is latency there. Now I'm just having difficulty doing the moves. And another thing, I have not found a way of configuring the controls. Maybe later on I'll have a look at, I'll take the micro SD card, have a look at it. There might be some system files on there where I can change the controls via an INI. But generally the default controls are pretty crap. Like they're just the wrong way around. The punches and the kicks are they're just messed up. It's not a good configuration for controls, and that's just not for the arcade. We'll have a look at the other systems and see what kind of control schemes are there. And like any good Chinese knockoff device that you buy, it is loaded with ROMs, and it's got quite a lot of ROMs on there. Now I had a look for CPS3, that is not on there. I wouldn't expect that to run anyway, but it's got the CPS1 stuff, it's got the CPS2 stuff, and it seems to have the Neo Geo stuff on there. Okay, so I'm just going to go on different systems based in the order they're on this machine. Now, it's one thing I do like about it, when you look at a system, it's got 4 thumbnails there and you can click one of those games to quickly get into there. But if you press, I can't remember, it's either select or start, it tells you there's a prompt on screen and it brings you to a menu where you can pick a game. Now, NES ran okay on this. Like, it's been a while since I've played NES, so the comparison in my head isn't great, but out of most of the systems I ran on this thing, NES ran okay. But again, it was very difficult to get diagonals out, and Contra is a game where if you can't get diagonals out, you die. This game is all about precision. One hit, you're dead. It's difficult. Going back into the NES game selection, you can see there's lots of games there, 868 NES games. Now, maybe not all of them will work. Some of them might be in the Japanese language or a Chinese language and not the English language. It is just random. Now, unpopular opinion, but this is my favorite Mario Brothers game on the NES. When Super Mario 3 came out, I moved on from the NES. I really enjoyed this one, and have a look, let me know what you think, how it runs. Like, I didn't think it ran too badly, but it did feel off, and the sound to me felt a little bit fast. The sound felt fast, but the game didn't feel too bad. Like, it's playable, it's okay, not the best way of playing it. And I'm just noticing now when I'm watching the video, on the top right, it looks like I've got a little bit of screen bleed there. I can see that light kind of coming through, so not sure what that is. Overall, the screen's good. I didn't actually notice that while I was playing it, so that's something I'm just kind of picking up when reviewing this video and doing this voiceover. But this is a great Mario Brothers game. Strongly recommend it. It wasn't received as the best one, but I had a lot of fun playing this. I think it's a really good game, and it actually, out of all the systems, this actually plays okay on here. So maybe if you want this for a NES, you might be okay with it. And there's a lot of NES games that don't require diagonals, and for the price, that one thing I have to say with this, you kind of get what you pay for. You pay £20. I was like, I'm gonna pay £20 for this and I expect the world. Well, I didn't get the world, and to be honest, I didn't really expect the world either. Okay, let's move over to the next system, which is going to be the SNES, the Super Famicom, SFC, like it's known in a different region. So the Super Famicom, like it's known in Japan. So it's got quite a lot of games. I actually expected the NES to have more games, and this has got 1167 games. So let's try one out. Okay, let's go with Street Fighter, and there's a reason that I picked Street Fighter in a lot of these, because I just want to see how easy it is to do the moves. Now, I've ran this game many times and I've never received this kind of error message before. So but you can change your system. On the main menu, you've got an option to have an NTSC system or a PAL system, so I guess that may actually resolve that. So let's get into game, let's boot it up, and let's see how this thing runs the Super Nintendo. Okay, straight away, if you can hear the sound a little bit, I've got it turned quite low because I guess I'm kind of talking over this, but the sound, it's not that awesome. Okay, I can definitely see some frame skipping there, and it's just, yeah, it's just off. I'm going to crank up the volume a bit so you can hear the sound for yourself. So I'm trying to do lots and lots of moves there, and I'm getting them out randomly. Not a great experience on this device. Okay, so the next test I wanted to give this was I wanted to try one of the hardest games to emulate, which is Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's, is it Yoshi's Island? Yoshi's Adventure? I think it's Yoshi's Island. And yeah, Super Mario World 2, this game is difficult even on the best of emulators. I think only recently has it been decent to emulate, but over the years when doing emulation, whenever trying this, it ran badly. I'm going to turn the sound up again. Yeah, as you can hear it there, it's choppy, it's bad, it's a mess. Let me get into game and pause the intro. We'll have a look at the game once we're in there. Okay, as you can see in game, it really isn't much better. The sound is off. It is choppy all over the place. This isn't a good machine to do a Super Nintendo. Not even the games that are less strenuous. We'll have a look at one that's not as strenuous as Super Mario World 2. But yeah, as you can see, this is running like Yoshi poop. And our next game is Pokey and Rocky. I've enjoyed this game growing up. Now, it just feels off. I can't explain. It runs better than Super Mario World 2. To be honest, anything ran better than that. But this just, it feels okay. It's not bad, but it still feels off. So there are some Super Nintendo games you can enjoy on this, but you can't run the more difficult ones. Star Fox will probably make this thing explode. Okay, let's have a look at the Sega Mega Drive, a system that we all like. Remember I was saying about the 4 games that are there and you can just press a button and launch one of them? Well, you can, and that is handy. It is a nice feature. There's not too many. There's only 4, and I don't think they change. Maybe it changes with your last played game, but when I was testing this, it's not something I paid attention to. Again, I'm running Street Fighter Special Champion Edition game just to see, am I going to be able to pull a move out on a different system? Now, if I'm playing a fighter game on a handheld, when we look at it, you'll probably notice that the moves come out easier because on handhelds, like they made the execution more forgiving. So I thought instead of a motion character, I'll go for a charge character. Now, charge moves were kind of easier. Now, I'm moving it down back there a lot, and a lot of time, Blanca is just walking straight back. You can clearly see my hand is on down back, but he is just walking back. It kind of locks in there. It's got a mind of its own. It really isn't a good D-pad. So if you're going to serious game on this, definitely not the machine. This is kind of something that you buy for your toddler to smash buttons on and play. But then an argument could be had that if you're going to introduce your toddler to gaming, you may as well introduce them to decent gaming rather than something that is lackluster like this device over here. Okay, next up, let's have a look at Sonic the Hedgehog, a favorite on the Mega Drive, and you guys let me know what you think of it. Now, it doesn't take too long to load like the SNES and the Mega Drive games. It takes a lot longer to load the arcade games, I guess based on how the games or how the structure of the game is. But Sonic kind of feels okay. Like most things on this do feel a little off, but it definitely felt more playable than Yoshi's Island. So Sonic, Sega's mascot, is definitely doing better than Yoshi, which is, I guess, one of Nintendo's mascots, not the main one. Again, this kind of felt okay. Like everything's feeling a little bit off. If you're used to high-end emulation, like pretty much everything you're going to play, bar maybe the NES, is going to feel off. And it felt off, but it kind of felt okay. But you can judge for yourselves. Okay, for our next game, I want to have a look at a favorite on the Mega Drive, and you guys have probably guessed it, Streets of Rage 2. I love this game. I love the mods. I love Beats of Rage. There's so much that I like about this game, but once you see the gameplay running, you're going to notice straight away the sound is off, and it's just slow. It's running slow. It's not fun to play Streets of Rage on this device. And the other thing is the buttons are mapped terrible. The jump button is actually the shoulder button. So when I tried to jump there, I done a special. So his special is where I would think the jump button would be, and the shoulder button is jump, which is not doable. Again, I didn't find a way that I was able to map or change the controls. I don't know who mapped the controls for Streets of Rage. Clearly they've never played the game, or they don't know anything about video game structure. There might be a way to do it within an INI or adjusting something manually in a file. That's something I may look into later. If you do know how to do that, or there is a way, then post it in the comments so it can help other people that have bought this device. Some people may like this device more than I like this device. Some people, believe it or not, don't notice lag, don't notice slowdown, don't notice a lot of stuff. I do, and this is not how Streets of Rage 2 should be played. The Mega Drive had a lot of classics. Can you guess what this is yet? Can you guess? Okay, if you haven't guessed it already, then you've never played this. Golden Axe, a fantastic game. Loved this in the arcade, loved it on the Mega Drive, but how does it play on this device? Well, let's check it out. Okay, it doesn't feel too bad. It feels better than the Streets of Rage 2, but the jump button is still the shoulder button. So the way the Mega Drive controls are by default, you're not going to enjoy playing it. Even if the game runs at full speed, there's no issues with it. Who wants R as a jump button? That's terrible. But if R is your jump button and you like that configuration, you may kind of enjoy Golden Axe. Again, like all the stuff is feeling off to me on this, but you may be okay with it. Okay, next up, let's have a look at the Game Boy. So this is the original Game Boy DMG, and let's pick one of the games from the thumbnails at the front. Now, this is Zelda's Link's Awakening. It feels off to me. The sound feels off to me, and the first thing you're going to notice is the aspect ratio. And I'm just having a look at the save there. I've created a save there, and then I'll load it. It does seem to work. The saving loading seems to work, but I have to play my Game Boy games with a green screen. Now, the buttons here are a little bit crazy. Like, some of it's even got like auto fire set. Okay, so once you're in the game and in the overworld, now straight away for this, the B and the A button are the wrong way round, like as they were on Nintendo. Now, if you've played Zelda's Link's Awakening before, you know that to save the game, it's either select and start or select and start and BA, and all the buttons together. But select and start actually brings you to the OS's menu where you can do a save state or load it. So I don't know how you're going to do like a normal save on this. I'm messing about with the buttons here. And yeah, I'm trying like different variations and whatnot. And then I tried like the two buttons at the top. I don't fully understand how it works. Now I got to that screen, but again, it took me to the OS screen. So I can go back to that and actually save it. So if I go back out, I'm on that screen now, save and quit. And it does actually save it, because when I went into the game was created. The save did actually work, but it's a bit difficult to get to based on the button configuration that you've got. Start and select does take you back to the menu. Now it's the same on like Ambernick and other devices, but you are able to configure the controls there. Okay, having a look at the list, there's a whole bunch of games here. There's 1142 games, but I just remembered seeing Tetris on the main page with the thumbnails. So I wanted to try Tetris because Tetris is one of the most classic games on the Game Boy. Now this felt kind of okay. Again, I'm not happy with the aspect ratio, because rather than being the correct aspect ratio for the Game Boy, they've actually just given it the 4:3 ratio, which I'm against, because I like playing my Game Boy in the correct aspect ratio. And the lack of a shader, like a green shader, I hate the Game Boy when it looks like this. I like that green screen. Another one of my favorite games, Super Mario Land. The first one, I didn't play the second one till years after, but it doesn't actually work. I tried booting it up, it doesn't work. I had to get out. Now I tried that a few times and this is what I was getting. So if you want to play Mario Land on this, at least on the version I've got now, it does not work. Here I am trying it a second time. It doesn't work. Let's go and check Super Mario Land 2. Okay, so the second one loads up. Now, I think there was two versions of it. I'm running like the Chinese or the Japanese one, and this seemed to run okay. Like it runs Game Boy okay, as long as you're okay playing it in the incorrect aspect ratio and without a green filter. So Game Boy kind of okay. It won't be the best way to play it, but compared to the performance you're getting on some of the SNES and some of the Mega Drive games, it's a lot better. So I think with this device, know its limitations, know what it can do, and well, what it can't do. Okay, the next system, the Game Boy Color. I guess the natural follow-up to it. So let's boot up a game and see where we get. So I booted one from the menu there. I think it was Bomberman. And let's have a look and get into game and see how well it runs Game Boy Color. Okay, cool. So this, again, I'm going to keep going on about the aspect ratio. It's wrong. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it does run okay. And if the aspect ratio doesn't bother you, this seems to be running okay. So Game Boy and Game Boy Color to some extent is okay, as long as you're okay with the buttons being the wrong way around. So B and A will be the wrong way around to how you would know them on the Game Boy, and the fact that games like Zelda, you can't really access the save without difficulty and some randomness. But let's have a look at some other games. We're going to have a look at Mr. Driller here, and honestly this felt okay to me. When I was running it, it felt okay. Now, I'm not the biggest expert on Game Boys. It would help if I'd done a side-by-side comparison, but hey, that's going to take a lot of time. I wanted to get this out there, and you guys, if you're a Mr. Driller player, let me know in the comments how decent does this look to you. Obviously, we're not looking at the aspect ratio here because I've said that it's incorrect for the Game Boys, and but the game kind of looks okay to me. Okay, our next game, Mortal Kombat. I can't remember which one it was. I think it might be crazy, like something like Mortal Kombat 4. I wanted to try it out again because of the diagonal jumping and everything. And I guess I kind of like fighting games. So got into this, got to try it, and I just had to turn it off. I don't think this is a good game on the Game Boy anyway. It's not something I remember back on the Game Boy, or ever even remember seeing in a magazine or anything good coming out of it. But here it is on the Game Boy, and it is just a pain to play. Our final test, guys, you guessed it, it is Street Fighter Alpha for the Game Boy. Now, again, yeah, I know the issue I'm going to have based on everything you've seen previously on the video. The controls are just no good, and in this the execution's a little bit easier. I remember it being easier on this than on like the home console counterpart. So I am getting fireballs out, but I think there's a lot of leniency and forgiveness in this. Wasn't really too much fun, but it seems to be running okay. The game seems to be running alright. So if you want to play Street Fighter Alpha on the Game Boy Color, you're kind of going to be alright. It's just a shame the buttons are just hardwired wrong. Okay, the next system, let's move over to the next system, which is the Game Boy Advance. Now, the first game I pick is Mega Man Z, and it's just full of like story and cutscenes. So I'm going to skip to the second game. Okay, so the next game I tried, I didn't bother showing Mega Man because I didn't actually get into the game. It was taking too long. Is Castlevania Area of Sorrow. One of my favorite games. This is one of the best games ever made and one of the best Metroidvanias ever made. Now, if I could play this on it, it will be worth it. Now, let's get into game. Okay, so if you like your Castlevania running at 10 frames a second, then this is the device for you. It runs this so poorly, and I'm pretty sure the aspect ratio is incorrect as well, but it kind of just fills the screen. It doesn't look as bad as, like, say, the Game Boy one. But look, that is just running terrible. You cannot enjoy this game, and this is one of the best titles on the Game Boy Advance, if not one of the best games ever made. It's just terrible. I don't even want to look at it anymore. Let's move over to the next one. Okay, the next game, Ninja 5-0. Now, I love this game. This is a brilliant game. It came out at the end of the life of the Game Boy Advance, if I remember correctly, and it's such a good game. Now, an issue in here, like your main buttons are attack, jump, then you've got a melee attack, and you've got like a grappling hook that gets you up. But this game is unplayable on there. I don't know if my unit is faulty, if someone else has got it confirmed, but as you can see there, the left shoulder button, or whichever one I'm using, one of the buttons, is just stuck on auto fire. So when I go to do my grappling hook, it just pops out. I'm trying to see if there's another button kind of configured to that, but yeah, the L button, as you can see, it's just firing it non-stop. It's stuck in auto fire, and that is just terrible. The final game we're going to have a look at is Super Mario Advance 1, which is Super Mario World on it, and you can see it's running the same way Castlevania Area of Sorrow is running. Actually, sorry, this isn't the last game we're going to look on now. I think I try Street Fighter. I always end up trying a Street Fighter game. So we'll try Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the revival, but we don't need to look at more of Mario. If Super Mario World is one of your favorite games and that's something you want to play on it, and it's a shame because it's a SNES controller and you can't play SNES games on this well. Okay, so Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the revival. This game is actually quite a lot of fun on the Game Boy. I did enjoy it on there, but I am not enjoying it on this. It is just terrible. I've gone into training mode, and like it is, like you can see on there, for the Game Boy Advance, auto fire is just, it's just stuck there. It's just terrible. Yeah, this, for the Game Boy Advance, it is not worth it. If you want to play Game Boy Advance games on here, there are better options. This is not the option there. It's difficult to do the moves, and the moves have been made easier on this. That's probably the only Super I got out in like 20 attempts. It's just terrible. Trying to look jump forward, I'm blatantly holding diagonal there. Look, diagonal, and he just jumps up. So the D-pad's crap, the performance for the Game Boy Advance is crap, but hey, it's $20 or £20, sorry. Okay, next up, let's just have a look at the OS, the options, what's there. So we've gone through most of that stuff, and over in user settings, you can have a look. You can change some of the stuff over. So ROMs list, this folder is empty. Again, I don't fully know whether it doesn't show up there. Don't know too much about it. I haven't put the memory card in my PC yet. It's decent that you've got a search option if you do want to look for a game. Hopefully it's all spelled correctly. Then the languages, you've got two, which I think is English and Chinese. And this is where you can change the system from PAL to NTSC. Nothing about control changes or anything else. That is the only options you've got on here, and apart from like picking the different systems for games. One thing that I did like about this device was the battery. It seems easily changeable. At least that's what I thought. It's a simple screw. It's not a secure anything on there. I think that's a size 0 screwdriver. I got the same one that you require to open a Nintendo 3DS console. The original ones where you needed a screwdriver to open it, or the new Nintendo 3DS. Okay, so once opened, I don't know what that size is called. It's got a lithium battery in there. Is it a lithium ion battery? But I kind of thought there might be an AA in there, which I wanted to test out that AA to see if it could give it power, but it's not. It's a non-standard size. I'm not sure about it, but at least if you're using it or you're giving it to your kids, and at some point you want to change the battery, well, you can. And while I played this, it came with the battery like full, and the battery didn't even dip. I probably played it for an hour while testing it, and it looks like the battery will last a long period of time on this. Okay, now let's have a look at everything that's on here. You've got the power switch there. You've got a USB-C cable. In there, you've got your micro SD card, the 3.5 headphone jack, and a volume rocker. I'm really glad it's a volume rocker, not digital buttons. And that's what it is. You've got your two shoulder buttons. The build quality, it feels okay in the hand, but the actual buttons and the D-pad, they're quite bad. And yeah, let's have a look. Let's take that SD card out and see what we got. Hopefully my camera will pick it up okay. But that is a 16 gig micro SD card that you get with this device. Okay guys, that's really it for this video. The Data Frog SF2000. I honestly, I don't know. The screen on it is good. The D-pad and the buttons aren't great. You can't do configurations. If someone makes an OS for a custom firmware for this, a separate OS, and it becomes a popular game, it might become something better. But that only happens to devices if they're popular. I only bought this because it looked like a SNES controller, and it was £20 and 15 pence delivered. So I thought, hey, why not take a chance on this? But honestly, if I'd actually had seen it or played it, I would not have bought this. Now, this might appeal to you. Let me know in the comments if it does, if you've got it, if you're enjoying it. Me personally, I am never going to play this again. After this video, I'm just going to give it away. I've got better handhelds out. I've got quite a number of handhelds. I like handhelds, and I've got quite a lot of retro ones. I've got an analog pocket which plays this stuff like very nicely. So guys, that's kind of it for this video. I hope if you enjoyed it, comment below, let me know your thoughts. But yeah, you get what you pay for. You pay £20 for a handheld, it performs like a £20 handheld. In fact, it might even perform like a £15 handheld. Doesn't perform like a 30, 40, 50 or a £60 handheld. But that's really it guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, then why not subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, share this stuff out if anyone's on the fence about buying this. But this is Smack My Deck done for the day.